Bring the bed in. Viva lost wages where reality's rested. Please unwind, and at least you'll find peace of mind is decompressing. It was a test of skills, buying the best of SWs, ripping through a chest of frills, revealing a festival of bills. Digest the protest, I'll just invest in a flexible treadmill. Here we go, wish me luck. I've been through hell and I give no fucks. Opportunities knocking but the door's sealed shut. Listen, stay calm, this is a stick up. Put the money in the bag and no one gets cut. Full dash to the exit, the door is stuck. I slump to the floor, red blue lights galore. A life with a felony in store, nothing more. There's always a bright side, no matter how hard it gets. Unshackle my fears, unravel the regrets. At least I live another day, I'll make another bet. My health is a keepsake, my future hasn't been written yet.
When it's coming out roses in this game of luck. Unless
I check out, there is no bankrupt.
My eyes are red. I've been burning. Here's the reason why. My eyes are red. I've been Alright,
welcome to Magic and Hash. My name's Tim. You might know me from Aethercast. I asked God for a bike. I know he doesn't work that way, so I stole a bike and asked for forgiveness. And joining me from Cast from Exile, who do we have?
Howdy homies, Sid Swami, and I'll be your god now.
And a man responsible for the arrest of 17 McDonald's employees who were feeding the homeless, John Hollein.
Oh, thank you very much. And they were feeding illegal immigrant homeless people, so we got them deported too.
And this guy has a YouTube channel called 30 Different Braids for a Modern Wookiee. Jason Roscom.
What's up, fuckers? Mr. Roscom here, driving myself closer and closer to liver failure, strictly for your listening pleasure.
Dude, speaking of liver failure and Wookiees, I tried this beer earlier this week called Blue Mountain. Wookiees Don't Die. Dark IPA. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Dude, you got to get on some of that shit. I got a growler fill at the local liquor store, man, and it's epic, dude. It's so good.
It's called Blue Mountain?
It's called Wookiees Don't Die, and the brewery is called Blue Mountain. It's like Star Wars in a glass. It's amazing.
Nice.
How the fuck did they
just
get away
like
with that?
I don't think they can trademark Wookiee, right?
Of course they can. You can trademark anything, bro.
So it's a dark ale, like a nut brown or something?
No, it's an IPA, but it's like a dark IPA, and it's got like some delicious space fruit flavors.
So it's not like a Chewbacca Wookiee in a bottle. It's like one of those fucked up holiday special Wookiees that's darker.
It's more like an Ewok. It's like an Ewok in a bottle.
Fucking pedo.
So, guys, into Magic. Jason, you said there were some announcements that came up
Yeah.
recently?
I guess since the last time we recorded, they announced some stuff. I guess they're making a few changes here and there. Nothing major, I don't think, right? Changing to the set sizes.
And they're bringing core sets back, which is pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I
always
definitely agree with that.
Like the things that you tie up in the back of your lady back in the 1800s.
Right. Wait, what?
So, yeah, first of all, they're making all sets large sets now. They're doing away with the small sets because after years of trying to solve the problem, why do small sets not sell as well? People don't draft them as much. They just said, fuck it, we're just shit canning the whole thing. And now we're going all large sets. And the summer set is going to be a core set.
So if every set's going to be a large set now, that means that whenever you draft, you're just going to draft one type of pack.
Right, yeah, there's no mixed drafts.
Okay. Well, that's kind of cool.
They're not doing 2-set blocks at all. It's just 1 set, pretty much.
I think they're
Well-
not going to stick to anything like that. If 1 block is enough to tell their story, then they're just going to do 1 block. If they need more than 1, I think they'll keep it going.
I kind of like that they're bringing back the core sets.
Amen.
I didn't really like them, drafting them that much, but when I first started, I bought boxes of the core set. It had a lot of cards you needed. It had powerful planeswalkers and stuff like that. And
Yeah, and it's always been a great way to reprint cards, get them back into circulation without having to work it into a storyline.
Yeah, and probably the best part about this is that whenever they paint themselves into a corner like they've currently done, cough, cough. I mean, you can just, if they just reprinted Pithing Needle in a core set, it would have solved half of the problems with Kaladesh.
Yeah, no shit, Jesus.
do they just always print a catch-all card like Pithing Needle? I mean, they kind of have to have a format where other cards can thrive, where they have different answers.
Well, you look back traditionally, like I think M14 was probably the strongest core set for that run while they were doing it. And I don't necessarily think it's about shutting decks down, kind of like the ban list does, which is their only option, but it's about not making one deck all powerful. Like if you printed Pithing Needle, I don't think it actually prevents people from running Aetherworks Marvel. It just is something they have to deal with now.
That makes sense. Are you guys happy about the ban of Marvel? I mean, there's a lot of powerful cards coming out in this set.
I mean, I haven't been playing Standard at all in the last year and a half. However, I've heard that those decks have been pretty degenerate and kind of ruling the format. So if it means a more diverse Standard format, then I'm game for sure.
Well, it's like, it seems now that every time a deck is good and oppressive, they're like, well, let's just ban something and see what happens. And I guess that's like a pretty cool thing, because you're not going to run into problems like, Necro Winter anymore if people are just more apt, or if WotC is more apt to ban cards from Standard. I can think of some cards that maybe should have been banned in Standard like years ago, like Thragtusk or like Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah, and I think them banning cards so often, it really ruins people's faith in Standard. They don't want to invest in a deck. Like this time, usually during the set review, people are hyping about decks they want to build. They're like already kind of making up deck lists. Right now, people aren't doing that. They just don't really give a fuck about Standard. And it's like, how do they get them back?
I think part of the big problem, at least in this Standard, is that somehow they deluded themselves into thinking, oh, Kaladesh, we're going to say that it's not an affinity set, yet it plays like an affinity set, and we're not going to put any answers in it like if we actually were running affinity or anything like that. They just somehow kind of like just miscalculated that people would find and play these broken decks. So I don't even think it's so much the banning that's the problem. It's just like the whole process of how they got themselves into this place.
Yeah, I seriously hope some motherfuckers lost their jobs on the development team, because these last few sets have just been goddamn ridiculous.
Hey, I just want to butt in real quick about that. And one of the things, and we've talked about it before, that really annoys me about the way they do business is there seems like there's zero accountability out there. We have this almost 4 years of just straight up turmoil with Standard, and all we get is, well, here's another answer, here's another answer, here's another answer. And I'm not saying I want names of people that are fired, but I just want something that shows accountability instead of, oh, well, Market Research says and blah, blah, blah.
I do. I want names, and I want pictures of these people living on the fucking streets after the fact.
Standard's always been shit, dude. I
disagree.
Accountability is only going to go so far. Okay, dude, there's always been some fucking shitty card that ruined Standard. Like before Marvel or Smuggler's Copter, you had Collected Company, and before that you had fucking Grey Merchant of Asphodel, and before that, it just goes back ad nauseum. There's no time when Standard was really fun, and there wasn't one deck that oppressed everything.
Hold on. I think before Collected Company really became a thing, when Cons was still in Standard, I thought we had a fantastic Standard, very diverse, a ton of good decks that all could be considered tier 1. And then that whole Collected Company bullshit started, and that kind of ruined everything. But before that, I thought it was a really good format.
Was that after Grey Merchant? The Grey Merchant deck wasn't around anymore?
Yeah, it was after Grey Merchant, but before that block actually rotated out. When Cons came out, we had all these 3-color decks, and it was fucking great. Everything but Teamer was actually good.
Oh yeah, like with Abzan and shit like that, and
Siege Rhino, yeah.
Jeskai had like a pretty good
Tokens deck. They had like the Jeskai Ascendancy deck. There was a lot of cool options.
I'll say that Return to Ravnica Standard was pretty decent because there was a lot of diversity out there. You kind of still had some stuff hanging out from M13 and Avacyn Restored, but it was a pretty decent time. There was a lot of diversity in the format, and that probably lasted right up until Grey Merchant hit.
Yeah.
Nah, man, it was like all either fucking Jund or Reanimator. I remember playing Standard then. That shit sucked. It was lame as fuck. It was just Thragtusk and Restoration Angel as far as I can see.
No. There was Boros Reckoner. There was, there were Boros decks out there. There was a mill deck that was kind of sort of out there.
None of those decks were good, though. They just lost to fucking Restoration Angel Thragtusk. Like, that's all you had to play.
Yeah, but then when Avacyn rotated out and it was just M13 through whatever that last set was, Dragon's Maze, I mean, that was a pretty decent standard.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think everything right up until Collected Company was pretty good. Even after that, once Collected Company went away, there was Delirium, Spirits, Vehicles. There was kind of a play where 3 different decks were working for the top spot, and I liked that standard. But then once they banned Emrakul, then Delirium fell off, and then it was basically just 2 decks. I think they should have left Delirium in there. They should have let everyone have their toys, and fuck it. I think it's stupid they try to fuck around with it too much because people invest all this money and then their deck just goes to shit. I fucking hate that.
Well, that's what people get for investing so much money in a fucking card game. That's so stupid. Like, if you're not going to play professionally and you're not going to fucking, like, try and be, like, a big-time grinder, don't buy a fucking Tier 1 standard deck for F&M, you stupid idiot, because your shit's probably going to get banned, and you can't afford it. You need to invest your money wisely in beer and nachos.
I think if it's somebody's hobby, if it's what they love to do and they want to spend their money on it, they do that. But it's like, if you buy a modern deck, there's very little chance something's going to get banned in a year, but there is something could get banned. But if you buy like an older format deck, you can just play that forever. But standard, it just sucks.
Yeah, modern. Yeah, if you're going to invest in anything, it's going to be modern because those cards tend to hold their value. They tend to go up over time. And that format rarely changes as far as the playable decks.
Well, it's also about this weird dichotomy with the MTG economy. And I know that Wizard says they have no play.
Modern's another one, though, where they're like, oh, it's too expensive to play Modern because, the thing that made my deck broken got banned. It's just like, why the fuck did you spend so much money on that deck, you idiot?
Well, yeah, it's the people who are chasing the cards after, pre-release weekend and paying double what they should be paying for them. I mean, those are the people who get burned that I don't have a lot of sympathy. And part of that is just learning and sticking around the game long enough where you understand how the economy works.
Yeah, but I mean, even back when there was mono black, I mean, I was playing like red-green monsters or whatever, and I could play that deck for a full year. I wouldn't have to worry about, cards changing that much. But now it seems like every few weeks the decks change so fucking much, or a new deck is just like so broken you can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, as of right now, I would still be hesitant to jump into standard just because of all the changes that have been going on.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's something I'm just kind of brewing up with cards I've already got, then I'm not going to drop $40 on a card in standard right now.
Yep.
All right, we're agreed. Standard sucks. All right, so these cards that are spoiled, there's some gods that are insanely good. I mean, they're a little expensive, but EDH, they're insane because they keep coming back to your hand and they have crazy abilities.
Dude, these gods are the shit, man. My favorite one's the Scarab God. The zombie one. He's like 3, a blue and a black. And at the beginning of your upkeep, each opponent, so this makes it like automatically you're a fucking super target at your commander table.
Yeah.
But each opponent loses X life, and you scry X, where X is the number of zombies you control, right? And he's a 5/5, so that's done, right? Okay, so that's all we need for this card to be pretty amazing. But wait, there's more. You can pay 2, a blue, and a black, and there's only 4 mana, and you don't even have to tap them or anything. You could just do this as long as you have 4 manas. You just keep doing it over and over again. To exile target creature card from a graveyard, and you create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. So, like, you could exile, their Snapcaster Mage or whatever. It'll be a 4/4 black zombie Snapcaster, and you'll get that awesome ability when it enters the battlefield. That, and you've exiled a card from their graveyard, and there are some problem creature cards that when they get into graveyards, they can really fuck shit up. Genesis comes to mind, or even, what was the one? Anger, that gives, if it's in the graveyard, it gives all creatures haste. So this has utility as well as good usefulness. And then, of course, it has a caveat, as Mr. Tim described earlier, that when the Scarab God dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So these gods with that ability, they kind of get around commander tax, which is pretty sweet, man. I'm digging these cards for commander for sure.
Yeah, a lot of commander love here. And also, did you guys see the Nicobolus that's going to be in the Planeswalker decks? Now, normally those Planeswalkers kind of suck, but he seems like he's going to be great in commander.
Nah, I didn't see that, actually.
Yeah, it's same casting cost as the other one, 5 and Grixis. And he's got 3 ability. He starts with 5 loyalty, and then you +3 him. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. A -3, destroy target creature and draw a card. And then -11, Nicobolus deals 7 damage to each opponent, and you draw 7 cards. So not nearly as good as the other one, but it goes great in a Grixis commander deck.
I kind of like it, yeah.
Yeah. and this is one of those Planeswalker packs, so you just walk into the store, pay your $12, and you got him.
Like, the +3 ability, but the -1 seems really good.
Yep.
Any other gods that you guys liked? I think the red-blue one's fucking insane. He's 4 red and a blue for a 4/4 flying god. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect token with flying with haste also. So it's like blam. And then for 2, a blue and a red, draw a card, then discard a card. But this guy goes insane with cycling. I mean...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see him getting much standard play, but again, this is another commander guy that I'm sure he's going to be a favorite.
Yeah, these 3 gods, they kind of seem really unbalanced. No doubt the Scarab's the best of them. The other 2, maybe there's a niche, but I don't see too much.
All right, there was another one of those sorceries that was spoiled that doesn't let you untap your lands. They're basically the gods' last stands as they're getting killed by Nicobolus or whatever. But this is Rona's last stand for a green and a green. Create a 5/4 snake creature token. Your lands don't untap during your next untap. Now,
oh yeah, weren't you arguing with somebody on Facebook about this card?
Yeah, and do you ever notice that late at night I get drunk and I go into your Facebook groups and I wave my dick around?
Yeah, we've noticed.
I go into like higher standards, and some guys like argue with me, and I was just like, all right, well, listen to my podcast. Jason Ross was on it. He started this show, and then people just shut the fuck up. I'm like, this is my dick, bitch. But so create a 5/4 snake creature token for 2 mana, but your lands don't untap. Now, essentially, you kind of have to think of this like echo costs of 2 green, essentially, because your mana is locked down for next turn. So you don't have access to 2 mana again. So a 4 mana, 5/4, but you get it out potentially earlier. Is that good?
I don't hate it.
This is a modern card for some of those decks that can just shit out a ton of land early and then drop that thing out there. But I do not like the lands don't untap thing. I mean, you almost have to run something that's going to untap those lands to make this playable.
What's the one that you make a copy of any token that was just out in the Modern Masters deal? White.
Wait, it was in Modern Masters? Are you talking about the card that's like just proliferate? It's like 1 white mana for a sorcery and it's proliferate.
Yeah, proliferate, that ability. What if there was like a proliferate deck and this is like a 2 mana 5/4 essentially, and then you make copies of that token?
I mean, this is fine and all, but what does a 5/4 really do if it doesn't have trample or flying or something? I don't know, man. I'm not huge on this card. I think that it's okay. Like, it might even see some standard play, but I don't know about modern, man.
I think it's going to be better than people think, because it's like you're going to draw it late or have a couple of these in your hand, and then you're just going to have like 6 mana out, and you're just going to be like, boom, that doesn't untap. I'm like playing 5/4s, and I can now trade with their Tarmogoyf for whatever. I mean,
I think it's got the ability to do something good in maybe a tempo style aggro deck, but it's too early to call for me.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's good on defense, but I kind of really hate Magic cards that want to be played defensively.
yeah.
I know Sid loves these episodes where we just walk through spoilers, but I want to interrupt this with one other thing from that announcement week that we didn't talk about. Did you guys notice that they're shit canning the Duels of the Planeswalker game? They're not doing any more updates. They're not supporting that anymore.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I'm actually happy about that because honestly, those games were shit. If you're an experienced Magic player, those games were fucking garbage, and I don't think that those did a very good job of recruiting new players.
Actually,
so they were really
that's what recruited me. I
what?
Yeah, I downloaded it for free, and I was teaching my stepson how to play Magic or whatever, and I downloaded the game, and then I started playing, and I was like, there's an elf deck on here, this is fucking sweet, and then I was up till 3 in the morning playing that shit, and then I went with Buddy and we bought boxes of it the next day. I was like, we're getting into Magic, motherfucker.
When was this?
It was right before Theros, right around Theros, so I think it was Duels 2011, 2000.
Oh, see, those were pretty good, man. Like, before Magic Origins came out, those games were actually pretty sweet. Especially, there's something cool about, playing Magic on the iPad. And at the time, I was, super entrenched in Magic, but I didn't really have the money to play both Paper Magic and MTGO. So, I was doing the card shop thing, because I had homies at the card shop, like John Hollein. And, I wanted to see these people. I was actually interested in going and hanging out at this place. So, when I'm at home and I just wanted to play Magic, I just fired up Duels of the Planeswalkers to kind of give me my Magic fix. It was pretty cool, you couldn't, I didn't pay to unlock any of the cards. I just unlocked them the good old-fashioned way by just playing. And I had fun with them. I think it's kind of sad that they're getting rid of this video game, actually, because that might be something I'd be inclined to actually get for my PlayStation or something like that.
I don't know. It just the pace of that game, of that version of the game, is just so slow for me. For a guy who did play Magic Online for the longest time, yeah, I couldn't take it. It was the pace was too slow. It was just, yeah.
Fair.
Well, see, with the earlier versions of it, they had set decks, and you can unlock all the cards for those decks, and then that was it, essentially. But then once they made it, we're like, oh, now you can customize any deck you want. You can basically build a deck. Then it's like, you're not really building the best version of a deck, or you'll have to look it up or whatever. But I think having, you're all right, elves versus goblins, and this is just an archetype, and it's that they built strong decks, and it was fun. But then after a while, you're just playing against random bullshit, and you couldn't really set your deck against anything,
Well, the one thing I liked about these games, and that I kept going back to, was little challenges they would have, where they'd preset a board state, and then you'd have to deal so much damage or find a way to survive until the next turn or something like that. Now, those, I think, make you a better Magic player because it's helping you encounter something and help you think about decks that maybe you wouldn't run normally and kind of help you understand how the game works a little bit more. And I wish that would pop up somewhere again.
I totally agree.
Oh, yeah, puzzle mode. That was dope. Yeah, there was the one where you had to defeat all 5 Praetors in one turn. Do you remember that one? That was fucking
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they said they're replacing it with something new that they don't want to announce yet. So we'll see what that ends up being.
Well, speaking of things that are announced, the one thing I am the most excited about out of this entire freaking announcement week, which was actually more like half of we're going to make up for the bullshit of the past couple of years week, was the new Goblins versus Merfolk deck. Holy shit. You want to talk about Value City if they actually do this right. I mean, just with the Merfolk alone, you're probably going to get your $20 out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it might drive down price of some of those lords, but they're all $10 a piece, roughly, and they need to come down a little bit.
Yeah, they've got to have at least one lord in there. At least one.
I would be shocked if Lord
and
of Atlantis
each
is
deck needs a Mutavault. They need to put a Mutavault in each deck.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
else?
Good
What else
luck
can
with
they
that.
do to make us
Yeah.
happy?
Yeah. Let me know how that works out.
Cavern of Souls in both.
Yeah,
Well,
a
I'd
Cavern
actually
of Souls
imagine
in both decks and Mutavault in both decks.
I would imagine that there's probably going to be some decent legacy goblins in there because, they're not exactly that expensive, but some of them are getting a little bit harder to find. So this could be a really, really decent set. I mean, that's where my money is.
You never mentioned unsets, John. I thought you'd be all over that. I mean, unsets are returning.
Oh God, come on, man! Nobody's talking
In
about that
case you
shit.
didn't know, I'm married to a woman, but like, yeah.
I think this is going to be highly drafted, but it's going to be stupid as fuck. People are going to be like, oh, this is stupid. I have to rip up my card now. Or like, this guy is like 3,000 hit points. Like, what the fuck?
Have
People are
you
going to
ever drafted an unset before?
No.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you my unset story. So there's a card in Unhinged called Cheaty Face, right? And it's 2 blue for a 2/2 flying creature Efreet, and it says you may sneak Cheaty Face into play at any time without paying for it. But if an opponent catches you right away, that player may remove Cheaty Face from the game. So here's the thing: people just want to decide that there are rules for Cheaty Face. Like, I don't care that you just took a mulligan and the game hasn't officially started yet. I snuck Cheaty Face into play and you didn't see it. And, like, we literally got, it was like this girl that, God, I forget her name, but I probably shouldn't name her anyways. But she hung out with this group called the Super Casuals, and they were, like, all about playing with, like, silly Magic cards all the time. They'd build these, like, silly decks, and they'd play, like, games of Commander with like crazy rules, and they'd do Zombie Apocalypse, and they were like fun to play with and stuff. But none of them were competitive.
Sid, stop for a second. Did they actually refer to themselves as the Super Casuals? Was this a name they gave themselves?
There is a picture of them on the official Magic website for GP San Antonio where they're wearing their matching Super Cash bowling shirts.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm not saying they were cool or anything, but anyway, so
they should change their names to the Unfuckables.
That's a whole different story, Jason. That's a whole different story.
Anyway,
I'm pretty sure that they were all fucking each other. Like, looking back, there's probably some. I don't want to call it incest, but they might have been related. I don't know, dude. But no, man. So I was playing this girl, and I snuck in Cheaty Face while she was taking a mulligan, and all of a sudden they knew like all the rules for Cheaty Face, and like the entire Super Casual gang like flanked the table, and they're like, "You can't play Cheaty Face like that. Like the game hasn't even started yet." And I was like, "It says that you can sneak them into play anytime. Like it's not very specific about." Yeah. Oh, so we're making rules for Cheaty Face now, and then Cheaty Face also nearly caused a fight with our good friend and Patreon subscriber, Peo, and this other, like, really big dude. I forget what his name was, too, but they were both, like, you see Peo, he's, like, a massive guy, and this other guy was, like, just the exact same size as Peo, and they were getting really fucking intense and really, like, genuinely upset over this card, Cheaty Face. And, yeah, like, you gotta be careful who you draft unsets with, because that shit could break down into violence if you don't do it with the right people, man.
God, they're going to print like cool lands in there. But I mean, I think full art lands are kind of overdone now. I don't think it's going to, I don't know. I'm just not sold on it.
Well, just 2 comments about it, and then I don't want to talk about this bullshit anymore. But number one, I think it's going to be interesting because the rules have tightened up a lot since the last unset, like just even the phrase removed from the game and everything. So I'm kind of wondering if they're going to be able to get away with shit like that since some of those loopholes have been, actually removed. And the number 2 thing is freaking unglued and unhinged foils are goddamn expensive. So people are going to buy boxes of this shit just for the foils and the lands and whatever else, and they'll declare it a success.
I agree. And the thing is, maybe Conspiracy was their attempt to kind of try to do something outside the actual game, cards that actually did stuff outside the game. And now, since that, I guess, was a success, they're like, we'll just go back to an unset maybe.
Did they give any kind of indication as what kind of print run this is going to have?
No, but it's called Unstable. And when I read it, I thought they were just talking about their development team. But I was like, oh, it's the name of the set.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Savage.
Honestly, man, if you wanted to play with like joke magic cards and have a good time, I'd recommend Booze Cube over Unsets. Shout out to the Booze Cube. That guy made a set of magic cards. And, you know, given that you need to be a drinker in order to properly play it, but, dude, they're so funny. And the gameplay and the mechanics are actually solid, dude. Like, there are some cards in the Booze Cube that are totally broken, but I feel like it's a much more friendly, it's a much more friendly thing to do than to go to the card shop and try to play these unsets with some of these, what do you call them, John? Asperger's special people here.
Asperger's.
Because they're gonna, like, people, if you go to a shop and like draft an unset, people are gonna take it way too fucking seriously, man. And I don't think it's gonna be fun at all. Because
man,
like some of these people even run
and
conspiracy.
these people take it way too seriously.
Yeah, I know. That's what I hated about conspiracy. Because like if you didn't have fucking 7 friends that you knew were reasonable human beings, you'd always get that one guy that's just being way too competitive at the conspiracy table, and it just kind of sucked, dude.
I liked conspiracy a little bit. All the people around here are pretty friendly, so you know, whatever. It's just I hate when it's like you play 2 hours and like you don't win against 4 people, right? So competitive.
My favorite conspiracy draft story, real quick, is you know how you draft some of them and you've got to like name the card that interacts with it or whatever. Well, most people, they just take a little pencil or something and just kind of scribble the name on the card so that you remember, and that way everybody can see you scribbling on it and nobody can, you know, bitch about it. There is this one guy, and he lost his fucking shit because somebody was drawing on an uncommon conspiracy card, you know, that has a value of absolutely nothing, can't be played anywhere else. There's 5 million of them sitting in the bad box, and he was just losing his shit that somebody would deface a card out of a conspiracy set.
Yeah, some people are collectors or tight like that.
I'm gonna report your ass to the DCI, John Hollein.
Another card I want to talk about, Solemnity. Salam alaikum.
Salami.
Words are hard.
Words are tough. So 2 and a white for an enchantment. Players can't get counters. Counters can't be put on artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or lands. So this one card is a hate card for both my Infect deck and Affinity deck. I'm not liking this.
Honestly, I don't think you have much to worry about as far as Infect goes, because aren't they trying to fucking
impact.
Yeah, aren't they trying to kill the people by turn 3 anyway?
So yeah, but I mean, a lot of times they'll kill your guy with like a path, and then you have to like kill him in 5, 6, or 7, you know, later turns when you can go all in. But this, it's like a Stony Silence for Infect.
I don't know. I think if you're playing against white, you just board in the green card that that just destroys an enchantment and gives them 4 life or whatever. And you call it good.
Number one, I've said this on Facebook a million times, but I'll say it with my own voice now so nobody can accuse me of being a coward or some shit. If you are sticking around until turn 3 and worried about a sorcery speed enchantment fucking up your Infect or Affinity deck, you are a terrible Affinity or Infect player.
No, it's just another threat to sit out there and fuck over my shit. You know, it's like it's another Stony Silence. Someone could have 8 of those effects essentially in their deck and just be like, okay. It really hurts Affinity because I can't shift any of my counters around. I don't know.
Well, you can't shift them around so long as that's on the board. First off, nobody's going to main board this card. I mean, that's just freaking ridiculous.
It's all hate coming out of the sideboard.
I mean, and what? Somebody's going to have like four of these in the sideboard, you know, and you're not going to automatically have some kind of enchantment or permanent removal or something that you already probably have in your sideboard. I just think it's kind of a non-issue.
Yeah, I just hate them printing cards like that. It's flexible. So instead of Stony Silence, they'll probably run this because it hurts 2 different decks.
I mean, honestly, if this was 2 mana, if this was 1 and a white, then we could actually have this conversation. But I think at 3, it's pointless.
How can you abuse this? What about the land that you put counters on it when the counter's removed? Dark Depths, doesn't this combo with that? So it comes in
Dark Depths, but it's banned in Modern, right?
No, I'm saying for older formats, you play this and then you play that land and they can't put counters on it.
Yeah, but there's better ways to do that in Legacy.
Yeah, this does not want to be in Legacy at all.
3 mana Dark Depths. All right. What about the hate cards that I think they're pretty narrow, but they're really cheap removal essentially for against specific colors. So like the red one, for 1 red, it does 5 damage to a red creature or red planeswalker. So I mean, you have to be in that color sideboarding for against that for the same color.
I think they're clever. I mean, I think they could get some good use, but I'm not going to say it's an amazing card by any stretch.
They did these back in Theros, and some of them are really good. Some of the Theros, like I remember the black one is like destroy black creature for 1 black mana, and of course mono black was fucking everywhere. That was like the top deck, and that card saw a lot of good play in sideboards.
Yeah, the white one
I think
was
that
good
the
too.
blue one is pretty dope. Counter target blue spell for 1 and a blue.
Yeah, the Liliana
Man,
one, you have to destroy a target black
pretty good.
creature for 1 mana, and then it basically, if it's a planeswalker, you can destroy a planeswalker. If it's a Liliana planeswalker, they lose 3 life. But it's a 1 mana planeswalker or creature removal if you're playing against like the zombie deck.
It's a sorcery, though, man. That's like, to me, that's the
I think
weakest one
Nissa's
because it's a
Defeat
sorcery.
has an opportunity because you can destroy their land also for 3 mana. It says destroy target forest, green enchantment, or green planeswalker. If that planeswalker is a Nissa planeswalker, draw a card. But it's so it's very rare that last one will happen. But the first 2 are great. You could blow up a land in green, and green has planeswalker removal now. I mean,
Well,
One thing I do like about these cards is the flavor, man, because Nicol Bolas is owning the fucking Gatewatch, and I love it.
yeah, they're all like dying or getting fucked up. Yeah.
Man, what? But you're gonna be so upset when the rest of it's released and they all fucking triumph over him or something. It's just setting us up to be cock teased.
Well, ultimately, I'm hoping this is leading back to a resolution of the Nicol Bolas Ugin conflict. You know, that's what I want to see. I don't give a fuck about the Gatewatch.
Right.
I want to see Ugin come back.
Way, just so we can be done with it and move on. God damn it.
Well, they were saying in the new announcement that they weren't going to focus so much on the Gatewatch. That was like one of the problems. I think that people were like kind of getting sick of. Yeah, they're getting sick of that shit. I think that's a fucking great idea. I mean, Morrow, you guys showed fucking a picture of Pirate Vraska riding a dinosaur, and it broke the internet. Like, we like other planeswalkers, man.
Well, Kaladesh was such a success, we had to bring back vehicles.
Morrow, so how are dinosaurs going to drive cars?
Well, very carefully, because they've got tiny little dinosaur hands. That's why they need to be crewed with other people.
Morrow, I have a question.
It's like the dinosaur wants the pedals, and there's a little gremlin up by the steering wheel.
Is it true that they try to make this an affinity set because several years ago when Modern Masters 1 came out, they were like, oh, people like artifacts, but they tried to do it and they weakened it down, but like, who plays Convoke, right?
I don't know what you're talking about. It's just that vehicles was so good in Kaladesh, and it was the highest research set, and we were like, well, what would make vehicles better? I know dinosaurs and pirates and a planeswalker nobody gave a shit about.
Morrow, get the fuck off our show, man. I hate this guy, dude. He's such an idiot.
Dude, I fuck up standing again.
Dude, so these masterpieces that they got coming out for this set, they've got a lot of fucking good shit in this.
Yeah.
Thoughtseize?
Yeah,
Thoughtseize
and Damnation were the 2 that I was looking at. I'm like, oh yeah.
Blood Moon.
Dude, this Threads of Disloyalty looks fucking awesome. Like, oh wow, this
All
is.
the art
I
looks
don't see how
insane.
people complain. I don't see how people complain about these. You're basically getting like a fucking super sweet card, but people
Yeah.
still don't like them, man. I
That
don't get it.
Thoughtseize looks so crazy. It looks so fucking dope. It's the demon
Yep.
just like grabbing the dude. He's like, you're fucking done.
And this is our first reprint of Through the Breach since its original printing too.
Ooh, good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
Dude, this Avatar of Woe, like, don't get me wrong, I love the original RK post artwork, but that shit's just creepy, man. I love it.
Yeah, I'm super thrilled. The thing is, I wish I got more of these. Like the last one, I didn't open any of those. I have a few of the land ones, but
Yeah, I got like one.
which one?
Oh, let me see. I'm opening up my binder of semi-valuable things here. I got Chain Lightning.
Even Mind Sensor. Oh, Chain Lightning's pretty good, man.
So
Chain
Legacy
Lightning was
staple, isn't
only
it?
printed once in Legends, and it's like a fucking like $20 card, so it's not
It was
bad.
a common too back then, I think. Wasn't it a common back in
Yeah, but
Legends?
like, I mean, of all the cards you could be excited about pulling out of a pack, it's like, oh, Chained Lightning.
So what is that? You do 3 divided how you want?
Nah, it's basically exactly the same as Lightning Bolt, except that your opponent can pay red to fire it back at you, and if they do, then you can pay red to fire it back at them. It's a pretty cool card, man. I mean, it's great for Legacy burn. Like,
Great
if you're going to
design.
play a burn deck in Legacy, then you're going to play Chain Lightning. It's very powerful.
Well, okay. While we're kind of talking about these newly spoiled cards, have you guys seen Torment of Hailfire?
What does that one do again?
Okay, I'll read it off for everybody playing along here. 2 black and an X. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-line permanent or discards a card. Now let me go back for a second and say, repeat the following process X times ends with a period, not a colon. So my question is, and I think I know the answer, but I know Jason's smarter than I am in just about every sense. So if you pay 0 for X, this still fires once, correct?
I don't think so. I know I repeat the following process X times. So yeah, it sounds like you do the process once, and then you repeat it for every X that you paid.
Right. I mean, this
So
is just,
you could technically pay just 2 black for this to do it once. I get what you're saying, John.
I mean,
Right.
if that's the way we're interpreting it, yeah.
Pay 3, you get it twice. So because it won?
no, if you paid 3, then you'd get it 4 times.
No, X is 1. So it says repeat it 1 time.
Yeah, X is 1, you'd get it twice if we're reading it correctly, but this thing is so funkily formatted, I'm not exactly
Yeah.
sure, how it stacks.
Yeah, see, it's that whole repeat word, right? If it would just said, do the following process X times, then that would make a lot more sense. But it says repeat the following process. So,
So that means for 5 mana, that you're doing 9 damage if we're reading that correctly.
yeah,
Well-
that doesn't seem right, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't, because I would think it would be a colon instead of a period, though.
Right.
So, and also I'm wondering, like, that repeat the process X times is first, so is there a trigger on the stack for how many times to repeat it, and then it loops, or after it does the first time, does the second trigger come on?
Honestly, I mean, it seems like it would be too good if you got the process once, even if you paid 0. So it's probably you just do it X times.
Yeah, and I think you're going to be either like clearing their board of creatures, taking their hand, or doing a ton of damage to their face. But I mean, late game, how crucial is that if they don't have any cards in their hand? I mean, I guess you're still clearing the board or hitting them for a ton of damage. This thing, I like it.
If it works the way I think it works, I like it. If it doesn't, fuck you for shitty formatting.
Yeah. And they definitely could have worded that better if it's just you do it X times as opposed to X plus 1.
Okay, let's talk about the card that's going to see the most play out of the set. Claim to Fame. 1 black. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. And then the Fame side is a sorcery for 1 and 1 red. Give target creature +2/+0 and haste. So for 3 mana, you can pull your Tarmogoyf, your Death Shadow out of the deal, even your Snapcaster Mage, and then...
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is really good. I don't know if I'm just crazy or what, but I'm looking at this card, I'm like, this seems pretty fucking nice.
I think Death Shadow has already gotten so many bonuses, and LSV just put out a video saying that the Grixis Death Shadow is going to be insane with Snapcaster, because you can bring him back to the battlefield, get the ability, you could even snap this back out of the graveyard.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
And just fucking go off, you know?
Seems really sweet, man. I don't know how much standard play this will see, but yeah, you bring up a really good point with fucking Snapcaster. This is a really good card, man.
Yeah, even at sorcery speed, for 1 black, I mean, I don't really see a whole lot of downside.
Because it goes to the battlefield. It's just so fucking good. I mean, even in the zombies deck, you play this with a little bit of red splash, and you're like bringing back your zombie, giving him haste, and crushing 4 or whatever. You're like, fuck it.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I could really think of is that maybe this card and Snapcaster aren't as good together, just because this card kind of wants you to build a deck with a lot of creatures, while Snapcaster wants you to build a deck with, like, no creatures.
Well, LSV was saying that the Grixis one runs the Gurmag Angler and Tasigur, or whatever. So you can only basically use this with half the creatures in that deck, but he thinks it's going to be a super powerhouse. And he's saying that Death Shadow should be banned. And that's something when this card was spoiled, right away I was like, I think Death Shadow's getting banned. Especially because they printed that enchantment that kind of hurts some of the other better decks, and then they give them this. You know what I mean?
The only thing I can argue against that is that, you know, when you actually look at the numbers when you play against it, Death Shadow really doesn't play out too much, you know? Like, it seems really powerful, but you usually find a way around it or to deal with it. So, you know, unless there's some kind of gigantic explosion of this and it's just unstoppable, there's a lot of answers out there to deal with this, though.
The reason Death Shadows does so well is because it runs 8 discard effects, disruption effects in the main deck, like 4 Inquisition and 4 Thoughtseize. And so they're disrupting on turns 1, 2, and 3, essentially, and then they're dropping their threats for 1 mana along the way. So they have these powerful threats, and they're disrupting you. So whatever you bring in out of the sideboard, a lot of times they get it. They're like, no, and you're just fucked anyway. I mean, it's terrible playing against that shit sometimes, against somebody who knows what they're doing.
Well, yeah, if you don't have any answers to deal with the graveyard, then it's, you know, it's horrible, you're smoked. But I just feel like there's a lot of answers out there for it.
Leyline. Just run 4 Leylines.
Leyline, Rest in Peace, Majuka Bog, Relic of What's Tits. You know, there's ways you can deal with it.
White Leyline's probably better because you can't be targeted by their fucking discard shit.
I agree, white is better. Wait, what?
The black one's pretty... Oh,
sorry.
Jason Roskin, white is better.
All right.
So speaking of some answers, here's something that freaking Sex Panther was clamoring for way back on Magic and Hash episode 6. Scavenger Grounds. This is a land. It's a desert. You can tap it to add a colorless to your mana pool, or you can pay 2 tap and sacrifice a desert, not necessarily this one, you know, just any old desert you got laying around, to exile all cards from all graveyards. Wasn't this something that Standard needed maybe like 8 months ago?
Delirium?
Yeah, a year ago this would have been great.
Well, there's also like a new man land. He's a hostile desert. He's kind of a man land. So for 2, and then you exile a land card out of your graveyard, and he becomes a 3/4 elemental creature until end of turn, and he's still a land. And now a lot of the deserts that you play, you sacrifice him, so he plays well with the other deserts. You can eat him after you sack the other shit. Seems great. I love him.
Well, okay. come on, though. I mean, this is not a backwards-looking card. This is a future-looking card, because what plane do we know has a whole shit ton of deserts that we're going back to?
Dominaria.
And do you think...
Ding, 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 ding.
You think this has any modern play because of all the fetch lands? I mean, this thing swings in.
No, there's better man lands in Modern.
Totally.
Yeah, it doesn't have for any color. It's just kind of a piece of shit. There's also a guy, he is a 2/3 for 3 mana. He's a Naga cleric. That's Sid's Naga. You can play land cards from your graveyard. What do you think about this guy?
That shit's broken, dude, because it's basically like having another copy of, what is it called? The
Crucible of Worlds.
Crucible of Worlds, yeah, there you go. So, I mean, like, decks that were already playing Crucible of Worlds are going to want to pick this guy up.
You can just keep fetching with the same fetch land.
You keep cycling Ghost Quarter.
I think that guy's fucking sweet.
Wasteland. Just keep doing Wasteland.
I think that guy's sweet as fuck. Alright, so there's another mana dork. He's pretty expensive, but you tap and add a mana of any color you want to your mana pool for 4. He's a 2/4. He's 4 mana. And then he doesn't... That ability doesn't cost 4. You tap him and do that. And then you can tap and exert him, and then you add 2 mana of any color. But he doesn't attack when he exerts, so you could exert him without sending him across to get 2 mana out of him, but he just doesn't untap next turn. That's kind of cool.
No, this guy is fucking awful.
Horrible.
Well, limited.
Even in limited, I don't know. That's
well, cube. Well, rolling a blunt. This is the little filter. You rip a corner off this, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. I think it was a cool idea with exert that they're doing it a different way.
If he had haste, maybe, but he doesn't have haste, so he's fucking garbage.
Well, this one, the uncommon one, does pretty much something similar. Hope Tender, 1 and 1 green for a 2/2, and you can 1 and untap target land, and then you go 1 and 1 tap exert him. You can untap 2 target lands. Now, this guy's good with Nick, though. So he's another, like, he'd be good for EDH, I guess. He's another one of those flute elves that untap your lands.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, creatures that untap lands tend to be, people tend to find ways to break these, but I don't know. You have to tap mana in addition to him to do it. So,
what's the best land you could untap in Standard?
Ugh.
The one that taps for 5 colors or whatever, but you have to put 5 mana into it.
Swamp? I don't know.
I guess make another zombie.
Island.
All right, Sid, what time is it?
It's time to wrap it up.
Where can we find you?
Hey, homies, follow me on Twitter at the Sidmeister. And, of course, Patreon's growing every day. People are getting max value for their Magic and Hash buck. I can't tell you exactly what we're going to give you, but just know that we'll make it worth your time. I just can't discuss it over, public radio. So, yeah, hit us up, patreon.com/Magic and Hash. Give us some nuggets, and we'll do stuff. We'll make you feel good.
I will give out hand jobs to anybody who donates $50 a month or more.
Nice.
Damn, that's pretty cheap. How many hand jobs a month are we talking here for $50, man?
Oh, just one. Yeah, because it's that good.
Is satisfaction guaranteed?
That depends on the person.
I love it.
I will rub one out before it happens, so you really have to work for it. Jason, where can we find you?
You can always find me on Twitter at Darth Roscom. In fact, please follow me on Twitter. Since I created this new Twitter handle, I've got like 5 followers. I feel pretty inadequate right now. And then you can always find me on the All Things Star Wars podcast. Check us out on iTunes or wherever you find podcasts. Otherwise, I'm in the Magic and Hash Facebook group.
All right, John.
Jason, you freaking idiot. Of course nobody's going to follow someone named Darth Roscom. Everybody knows that you either have to slay your master or you get slain by your master. So I don't think Twitter and the Sith are very compatible.
See, we don't tell people that until they join the club, though. So,
yeah.
You're
persuaded by the dark side. Or you're raised into it, like most people.
Raised into it. Okay, yeah, you can find me on the Magic and Hash Facebook page, and since I just got back from Costa Rica, good luck to all the suckers who are looking for me down there.
Hit us up at magicandhash@gmail.com with all your inquiries. Magic_Timmy on Twitter, Tim Kempter on Facebook. Hit any of us up, we'll add you to our Facebook group. Thanks for getting blitzed with us. Peace out.